Thank you for viewing this Committees 101 video. Here we will review the most common types of committees in BUSD, their purposes, and general information about how committees work. You may belong to any of the committees listed on this page, or you may be considering joining one. Know that Berkeley schools are rich and invested community members, so many that we don't even have room to list them all here, but we have extreme gratitude to everyone who engages with their school and the district. In BUSD, we are surrounded with like-minded people who want to improve our schools and make the experience of our students as positive as they can possibly be. In short, committees leverage members to provide priorities, perspectives, and oversight in connecting resources to plans for the resource use. In California, ongoing state budget shortfalls mean it is extra important to be as thoughtful as possible in applying all of our available resources. When we say resources, those can include staff allocations, programs and services, and dollars to be spent on specific goals. There are basic ways that committees can function at their best. Members should assume positive intent from others. Recognize that the folks working with you are doing so out of a shared desire to improve their schools and student experiences. It's easy to assume that there are hierarchies set into committees, but really these groups work best when there is teamwork at every level. A principal, a teacher, a parent, and a student each bring equally valuable perspectives, and everyone's vote carries the same weight. Anyone who is in a specific role, like chairperson or secretary, are just team members pitching in to help the committee function. They aren't holding an elevated position over anyone else. Sharing tasks based on skills and interests recognizes that everyone brings something unique to the group, and you don't have to be an all-around expert to contribute. If you're good with numbers, you may focus on budgets. If you're into data, you might work on analyzing student performance. If you're a people person, you'd be a great fit to lead outreach to communities. It's highly recommended that committees delegate tasks to get a lot done as efficiently as possible. Recognizing your shared goals, you can provide mutual support in achieving them. This applies within committees, between different committees, and between levels like schools to the district office. It can also mean parents and teachers supporting their principal in committee work and vice versa. Always remember to step up and step back. Provide your perspective, speak for students, families, and groups that you are aware of and can represent, and then make space for others to do the same, so that together you are considering all students' interests. Going a step further, recognize when perspectives are missing from your group. Are there students whose experiences aren't being actively advocated for right now? Do the work to seek out ways to bring those perspectives into your group and the considerations into your work. These principles to support high-functioning committees apply across the board, between groups at a single school, between site committees and district-level committees, between the district office and staff on the ground like principals and teachers, and so on. In Berkeley, we are lucky to have many resources, and specific groups are tasked with reviewing different resources. You should refer to your committee handbook, posted to the committee training website, where this video is posted, for more details about different district-wide and site-level resources. In essence, these committees are tasked with making sure that actions and uses of these resources are staying true to the approved plans, or that plans are being amended to reflect what's actually going on. This is true for both district-level and school-level committees. Here are groups that may or may not generate their own plans, but who still provide vital input into plans like the SPSA, the School Plan for Student Achievement, and the LCAP, the Local Control Accountability Plan. For all committees in the district, here are tips on building the most effective and inclusive processes. It's never good to work in a vacuum. Outreach and community engagement are priorities for everyone. Public schools should have public processes. Frequent communication helps to ensure that opportunities to weigh in and participate don't pass your community by. We actually recommend, as mentioned in the committee handbook, that committees designate a broadcaster position, along with the standard chairperson and secretary and things like that. This role specifically captures the essence of what your group is working on and works to push that information out in a friendly way to your broader community. Pairing new committee members with returning members in a mentoring situation can be especially helpful. It can be intimidating for new members to ask questions, especially if they feel like everyone else in the room understands things that they don't. It's likely that other people have the same questions, but if they're nervous about asking, pairing them with experienced members gives everyone an opportunity to ask their questions in a way that is most comfortable to them. Actively recruit members to your committees who will bring new perspectives. This is ongoing work. Communities are living and breathing and changing constantly, so always look for your own blind spots and actively ask who might help illuminate those, if only they were a part of your group. A simple item at the end of every committee meeting called For the Good of the Order is a fantastic tool that builds reflection and review time into each meeting. This can be a time to ask for members' suggestions about how to improve your meetings, a place to bring up topics that haven't yet been discussed that need to be added to a future agenda, or anything else your committee members might feel could improve the committee work. Here we talk about some of the roles you'll come across in different committees. It's important to recognize that not all groups will have all of these positions because not all groups need each of these. The chairperson, which is the most common position in all committees, is, contrary to popular belief, not by default the longest serving member or the one who just knows the most. In fact, a good chairperson worries less about bringing all their knowledge into each discussion and is more concerned with making sure that the committee is as healthy as it can possibly be. The chairperson will actually have less room to provide their own opinions during committee work because their primary job is to make sure that meetings are being run fairly, to keep track of questions that need to be addressed further, and considering what should be done in future meetings based on the conversations and stated goals of the group. The chairperson helps to develop agendas for each meeting that move the work forward and respond to the committee members' needs and to achieve the group's goals. The secretary, or note-taker, keeps written records of the group's discussions and actions so that there is clear understanding of what has been done and what next steps are to be taken. The notes or minutes should be written so that someone who didn't attend the meeting has a clear idea of what was discussed and decided in the meeting. Particularly in large groups, having a timekeeper can help keep the meeting from veering away from the published agenda. The timekeeper provides impartial reminders when it is time to change topics or wrap up a discussion and move on to taking action. As we mentioned earlier, a broadcaster is a person whose job it is to record the key pieces of the committee work to push that information out into the community. This role is to help bring the committee's work into the light of day, highlighting its importance and allowing everyone in your community to understand what's at stake and where their interests fit into the work your committee is doing. Some committees also delegate a process observer role. This person views the meeting through the lens of your committee norms and gently redirects members and actions to keep the work in line with your shared vision. And finally, for groups that are larger or dealing with particularly detailed tasks or plans, you may consider designating a parliamentarian. This role is specifically tasked with ensuring the proper conduct of meetings, keeping the group operating in line with the group's rules and bylaws. You don't need to spend much time in a committee before you will hear about Robert's rules. While they can become quite detailed if your work is particularly complicated, at its heart, Robert's rules are just guidelines that help committees function smoothly. You don't need to be an expert in these rules to begin participating in a committee. Just understand that in meetings, you take turns, make clear suggestions for actions, and have a way to keep track of what you're talking about and taking action on. Please do review the detailed section of the committee handbook that contains more information about Robert's rules. For all that this seems complicated, remember that these are just rules to help keep your meetings thoughtful, clear, and inclusive. In meetings, actions are separate from just discussing a topic. Action items must be included on your posted agenda and include voting to approve or change the current agenda, a previous meeting summary or minutes document, a new plan or budget, or to elect committee officers. A quorum is the minimum number of voting members that you need to have present in a meeting to take any action. Your group's bylaws will include your quorum. The committee handbook has bylaws for SSCs and the P&O committee, and you can ask your committee chair for copies of the bylaws for other groups like the PAC, your PTA, the DLAC, District English Learner Advisory Committee, and so on. Generally speaking, If you are going to approve or change a formal plan or budget, you should meet twice. The first meeting is to present the possible change and discuss it, and the second meeting, at least a week later, is when a formal vote can take place. This makes sure that any interested community member has an opportunity to participate and weigh in on the change before it's made final. Also, notice that agendas must be posted publicly at least 72 hours before the meeting. This is another step to make sure that nothing is happening in the dark or behind closed doors. In a meeting, it is possible to vote to change an agenda, but only to add more time to a discussion that was already included, or to postpone an item for a later meeting. You can never add new items to an agenda during that meeting because it would eliminate the ability of members of the public to be aware of and choose to participate in that discussion or action. You may have heard of the Greene Act before, which is a California law establishing rules about keeping public meetings open and transparent. For all district and site committees, a similar law called the Greene Act applies and keeps the same principles of open and public decision-making processes without the possibility of criminal penalties for parents or school volunteers. The Greene Act ensures open meetings and does this through public notice, 72 hours in advance, with the date, time, and location of the meeting on the agenda. It includes opportunity for public comment, public discussions and decision-making, so non-discussions or decision-making can happen behind closed doors, and accessible meetings so that everyone who is interested may attend. The Greene Act also ensures clear records. It requires meeting summaries to record discussions and decisions, and plans or plan addendum to provide instructions about what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, and how you're going to pay for it. Thank you for viewing BUSD's Committees 101 tutorial. You can find many more resources at the committee training website where this video is posted. The committee handbook is full of information that's been created over years of work supporting school committees in Berkeley. Please do also check out the rest of our video buffet for tutorials on other committee-related topics. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to email bsep@berkeley.net.